Lines are now closed. Do not call or text. The following show is controversial and contains content you may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. 98FM.
This is 98FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
Monday evening, Monday the 13th day of March 2017. And how are you tonight? Between now and midnight tonight, this is Adrian Kennedy. This is 98FM's Dublin Talks. Now, we have a really busy programme for you tonight, including a little bit later on. We're going to be talking about autism. We're going to be talking about drivers having their phones taken from them if they're caught driving and speaking on the phone. And joint custody is better for children. We'll be talking about that a little bit later on. All that and much more between now and midnight tonight.
98FM. The show getting Dublin talking.
98FM's Dublin Talks.
I'm Adrian Kennedy, and that man there is Jeremy.
Yes, how are you? Everything okay?
Good, yeah. All good.
Now, did anybody get to see the Late Late Show on Friday night? And there was uproar over it. And it involved a section all to do with autism. Now, autism is something that I know very, very little about. In fact, I
think an awful lot of us know very little about it.
The only thing I know about autism is I got from watching Rain Man. That's how ignorant I am. I'm going to put my hands up and say, yes, I'm completely ignorant about autism. I don't have a child that's autistic. I don't have anybody in my family that's autistic. And I believe it's a very complex thing, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That is difficult to understand. However, and the reason I mention this, and if you are, because I know lots of parents were on social media over the weekend giving out about this, if you do have a child that is autistic or a family member that's autistic, I'd love you to give me a call or text me. The text number is 087 798 98 98. 087 798 98 98. You can text or WhatsApp, or you can call us on 679 981. Now is your opportunity to inform the ignorant, and I'm ignorant, Adrian's ignorant, most of us are ignorant, to inform the ignorant among us about autism. Now, the reason I mention this is because Friday night I was sitting at home watching the Late Late Show, and they were doing a fantastic piece on autism, and they had 3 people on the show who were all suffering with autism. I believe the autism spectrum, there's many different types of autism, isn't there, from what I believe?
Yep.
And they were interviewing this young fella called Huey Malone. A lovely young fella, spoke very well. Very well spoken, very articulate, wasn't he, Adrian?
He was, yeah.
Were you watching it as well?
I watched, subsequently I watched it, yeah.
Okay, so Ryan Tubridy was interviewing this guy, Huey Malone, talking about the symptoms of autism and basically about how people with autism should be treated. And at the end of the interview, now I'm going to play you the clip now in a second, but at the end of the interview, he says, Ryan Tubridy asks him something to the effect of, what do you want to do when you grow up? And,
well, let's have a listen to it. This is from Friday night's Late Late Show.
What is your aim in life? What would you love to be doing in, say, 10 years' time? Have you thought about it? Because I know you love history, right? You love history?
Driving planes in buildings.
Driving what?
Driving planes into skyscrapers.
Right, well, let's say that's not a career option. What else would you like to do?
Move to Iraq and become a terrorist.
Right. But you're interested in what things like the Vietnam War and World War I, is it? Or things like that? Does history interest you?
Yeah, history. That's very interesting, I'd say.
And maybe you'd like to get into that side of things when you're older, is that right?
I mean, I definitely like to learn about it. Having it as a career, maybe not, but... Yeah.
So you see what happens.
I'll see what happens.
Okay.
So there you are. That was from Friday's Late Late Show. Now, the controversy was...
the backlash.
Yeah, the backlash was over those comments that he wanted to fly planes into buildings and he wants to go to Iraq to become a terrorist.
Okay, so people took to Twitter, because I went on to Twitter straight away to see what people were saying about it, and people even I know were slagging off the kid, saying stuff like, oh, he'll never get to America on his holidays because he just said he wants to be a terrorist. And I thought to myself, now I'm not a snowflake no more than you are, but I thought to myself, Jesus, are we that ignorant about autism?
And is that what you got from reading the comments from people, that they're completely ignorant?
Yeah, absolutely. Would you not agree about the ignorance?
Yeah, I would, yeah.
I saw loads and loads of tweets. I'm not going to read out people's names that tweeted it, but here's one from a fella, I'll just call him Rob, and he tweeted on Friday night, and he said, the young lad actually said he wants to fly planes into skyscrapers. What a nut job. Smiley face, smiley face, smiley face.
I mean, that's disgraceful. That's somebody who either saw that clip out of context.
But I don't know how you could see the clip out of context. Turbiddy was interviewing somebody who had autism. What other is the way to take it now? And then
I've seen that clip isolated on its own now and taken totally out of context in the context of being a discussion about autism and highlighting autism and highlighting the symptoms of autism.
But to make fun of a child that's autistic because, okay, what he said was wrong and what he said was way out there. I don't understand. Do you understand why he said it? Do you understand the way autism works?
Unfortunately, no. And that's part of the problem.
And as I said, my only brush with autism was watching that movie Rain Man, where, of course, the Dustin Hoffman character is autistic. And he says inappropriate things at inappropriate times because is that what autism is?
That's my understanding of it. And I think, in fact, if anything, that whole piece highlighted autism. Just even that young fella's comments just highlighted autism and what autism is. Now, like you said, saying inappropriate things and whatever.
If you've any feelings about it, you can text us on 0877 98 98 98. And as I said before, if you are a parent of a child that's autistic, I know. But here's another thing I have to see. I spoke to a couple of parents on Twitter on Friday night who have autistic children and asked them to come on, and they were embarrassed to come on. And I'm like, you see, that's part of the problem as well. If you're a parent and you're ashamed that your child is autistic, that's disgusting as well, is it not?
It is a little bit, yeah.
To be ashamed that you have an autistic child. Is that not horrible?
Well, is that what they said? I'm ashamed.
No, they didn't say shame, but I'd be embarrassed to come on the radio. Why would you be embarrassed to say that your child's autistic?
I wouldn't have thought you would be, but
I thought you'd be proud that your child's autistic. Anyway, what it does prove is that we haven't got a clue, do we?
No.
Do you have anybody? Do you know anybody that's autistic?
No, I don't. No.
And do you understand how it works? Not how it works. That's the wrong thing to say.
I think that clip highlights exactly what autism is. Yes, it would be inappropriate for the vast majority of us to make comments like that, but for that young fella with autism, it just kind of, to me, highlighted exactly what autism is.
That
a young fella like that can make statements like that without realising the consequences or whatever.
Yes, because that's the autism, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Anyway, what else is going on in the world? I have it.
On a lighter note.
Yes,
is it a lighter note?
Is it a lighter note? We tell lies every single day to our other halves. If you're in a relationship, whether you realise it or not, we tell them lies every single day. And I have here in my hand a list of the top 20 lies that we tell our partners. Now, the number one
only 20?
Yeah, the number one on this list, I have to be honest, I'm guilty of. And she goes ballistic.
Yeah, go on.
She goes ballistic over it. Well, no, I want to see, can you work out what it is that is number one on the list? These are lies that we tell our partners on a daily basis.
I told one already today. Well, I mean, obviously I've told one already today. She asked me, I basically went to the toilet last night and forgot to flush the toilet. It happens sometimes. That's what happens in a relationship.
It's disgusting, but yeah.
And she arrived into the toilet afterwards and she said, did you forget to flush the toilet? And I lied to her, and I said it was the young fella. Blamed him on the skid marks in the toilet bowl.
He's only 2,
and he was able to go to the toilet on his own now.
Very good.
Fully trained, Adrian. Fully trained.
A child that size doesn't leave skid marks in toilets.
Well, anyway, I blamed my son on me forgetting to flush the toilet, and she's given me the silent treatment ever since, which is great, by the way. If you're a woman who thinks you're punishing a man by giving them the silent treatment, you're actually not. I've had the best 24 hours of my life. It's been the most peaceful. I was able to play my Xbox in peace. Did your missus give you silent treatment as well when she's angry?
She has been known to.
Why do women do that and think it's actually not a punishment for you to give silent treatment? It's actually a reward, if anything. So thanks to my missus for rewarding me with silent treatment. And yes, I'm going to admit now, I did lie to you. It was me that forgot to flush the toilet. It's not the biggest crime of the century. You don't have to divorce me because of it.
Oh, has that been threatened?
She said if I had known I was marrying a pig, I wouldn't have married you. That's what she said.
Okay, I'd like you to text or WhatsApp us right now on 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. And I want you to just text me the most recent lie you told your other half. Okay? So things like,
So hang on, you told your missus one and she found out about it and she's not talking to you either?
No, the one that is number one on
Well, I
this
know
list.
what your one is. I'm just going for 1 point.
Yeah. Okay, that's on. I only had one drink. I have been known to say that, yeah.
Go on, what else is on the list?
You don't look fat, when she
Okay.
actually does. No, I'm not saying my missus, but that's a lie that men that we tell our other halves.
Okay.
I'd like you to text me right now the last lie you told your other half. Okay? That's all.
The last lie.
The last lie that you told your other half. The number one on the list is something that you're probably guilty of as well. I think most people are guilty of it at
Skid
some
marks
stage.
in the toilet?
No, it's not that, no. So I want you to text or WhatsApp us right now on 0877 98 98 98 and tell us the last lie that you told your other half, be it a man or a woman, okay?
Here's an interesting message about the autism from Stephen. I'd love to. I know we regularly talk to you on the phone, Stephen. I'd love to talk to you about this because his son has autism and he's tried many times before to explain it to ignorant people what autism is, and in my experience, they never listen. Well, Stephen, this is us wanting to listen. Like we are actually asking for somebody to explain to us what it is. So, to be honest, Stephen, I think it's a bit of a cop-out to say, oh, I'm fed up of talking to ignorant people. The only way to educate ignorant people is not to educate them.
I would think so.
Is that not the answer?
I would think so, yeah. But he says in his message that he now doesn't discuss it because people are ignoramuses.
But that's... I'm not saying it's your job, Stephen, but if people are ignorant about autism, you have to get it into... You have to explain it to them. Because since the Late Late Show on Friday, nobody has been able to explain to me why that young fella said what he did.
Okay, keep your texts or WhatsApps coming in. The most recent lie you told your other half. Because we all tell... I have a top 20 list of lies that we tell our partners. I want to know what's your most recent one. This one from Andrew says, my most recent lie was, I'm on my way. I'm leaving the office now. He actually wasn't. He was probably in a pub.
I'm stuck in traffic.
Yeah, you're not. You're in the pub.
Everything isn't lies about the pub, by the way.
Keep your text or WhatsApp coming in 0877 98 98 98. Text us the most recent lie you told your other half. Okay? Text or WhatsApp us 0877 98 98 98.
Is there anything about your previous lovers? How many?
I think everyone lies about that, don't they?
But you're the only one. You're the only one that had to put the number down. How many had you got? How many?
I'm not discussing it. After golf, I text my missus to say I'm just back in the pub when really I was actually on my third pint.
Now here's a relation. I'm not a relationship expert, but this is clearly a relationship that's in difficulties. The last lie I told him was that I love him when really I want to wring his neck. I think you should probably get out of that relationship.
And then another one, I tell my hubby this lie regularly. Oh, that sex was great. Really?
Can I just read one
Here's
more?
another troubled relationship.
Can I just read one more text out about the autism issue here? Because again, this just highlights the point that I'm trying to make. Let me read this out, Adrian. I'm a mother with a child on the spectrum, a child with autism, and she goes on, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to come on air, as for me, his mother, it's difficult to try and explain it. That's the problem. You are part of the problem. If you are not willing to explain to ignoramuses...
Maybe she's struggling to explain it to herself even.
But that's a cop-out. I'm sorry to that lady, and I don't mean to insult you, but that's a complete cop-out. That we're here asking for you to explain. You're in a position that you can explain, but yet you're not willing to explain. So you know what? Maybe the ignorance that was displayed on social media on Friday night, maybe you are part of that problem because you haven't sat down or you haven't publicly spoken about autism and explained to people, this is why my child behaves the way they do. And I'm sorry, there obviously is a shame factor. It's actually wrong. It really is. I'm annoyed now.
Okay, keep your texts or WhatsApps coming in 0877 98 98 98. Tell me the most recent lie you told your partner, your other half, yeah? What was the last lie?
Is this just men telling women or is it women telling men?
Oh, both, yeah, both.
Okay.
We all do it. Kevin, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Kevin?
Not too bad now yourself.
Kevin, what was the most recent lie you told your other half?
You look grand now, let's go.
Because otherwise you're going to be if you don't tell her that she looks grand, you could be there for hours waiting for her to be grand,
sure.
Basically.
When you say like, we're going in half an hour and 40 minutes later, she says, I'll be another 10 minutes. And she says, so I look alright. So yeah, let's go, you're grand.
So would you let your missus go out looking horrendous by lying to her?
I wouldn't say horrendous now. You know what women are like.
It is a struggle to get a woman to actually be ready and walk out the door. So you end up, your most recent lie was, you look grand, now come on.
Yeah.
Just to get her out of the house in a rush.
Yeah.
But then they reply, when they ask you that, they say, do I look alright? Yeah, you look lovely, hon. Oh, you're only saying that so we'll get out of the house early.
Oh, no, you say, no, I really mean it.
I have to say, I've done it myself.
There's nothing worse when when you're going on a night out and you've ordered a taxi and it's waiting outside the door and it's on the clock. The you know the way taxi drivers start the meter before they even pull up outside your house?
Yeah, it's nothing worse.
And the taxi rings and he says, how are you, Mr. Dixon? I'm outside the house here and the meter's running. And then you go into your missus and she's only starting to straighten her hair. She's going to be there for another 20 minutes. She'd always lie to a woman about the time the taxi is ordered for, by the way.
I've done that as well, yeah.
Yeah, if you've ordered the taxi for 8 o'clock.
Yeah, tell her it's a quarter to 8.
Tell her it's a quarter to 8. She'll be ready on time.
Fair play, thank you very much indeed. Darren, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Darren?
I'm great today, actually, because I'm counting down the day to Paddy's Day.
It's only a few days away.
Oh, it is. My favourite day of the year.
Why is it? Why do you like it?
The kids love it. I like taking the kids down to the parade and swords and doing stuff with them and all on that day.
I thought you were going to say, and I was going to rip you apart, I thought you were going to say you love getting drunk on Paddy's Day.
Not me, no. I'd never do that.
It's disgusting. No, Darren, don't joke. It's disgusting, isn't it?
It isn't. It's your national duty to have a drink on Paddy's Day.
Yeah,
your national duty,
I'm not getting in. I'm biting my tongue here, but I think if you get drunk on Paddy's Day, on our national day, you're a disgrace. You're actually an embarrassment to the country.
Here, we'll have this conversation another time. Anyway, Darren,
after 9 o'clock, that's hot.
What's the most recent lie you told your other half?
I only had 4 points.
Yep. Did it myself only.
Every bloke that tells that lie, and anybody that says don't, they're telling you a lie.
Absolutely, I agree. I only said it on Friday night. I was out with a mate of mine on Friday.
I said it last night.
Yeah, I was out with a mate of mine on Friday, got home. Well, how many pints do you have? Oh, no, I only had 3. I
think women, it's going to get to the stage, lads, where wives are going to have breathalyzers waiting at the front door.
Yeah.
My wife's got to the stage now, she actually just multiplies it by 2 and she's closer to the truth.
Even that expression alone, lads, a quick pint. What's a quick pint? A quick pint. No, but a quick pint has the exact amount of alcohol as a slow pint.
It is.
It does. It's the exact same. It's the exact same volume, isn't it?
It is.
I don't get what you like.
But it's to make it sound less. If you say a quick pint,
make them feel better.
Yeah, exactly.
Make them feel better.
Oh, men are such fools because we all do the same thing. As opposed to me the other day saying to my missus, "Oh no, actually I had 8 pints." We take
lads, are you both controlled by your women?
That's what I'm saying. Men are fools.
Why don't you just do what I do? Go out on a Friday and don't come back till Monday.
Really? Thanks, Darren.
That's actually not me.
Enjoy Paddy's Day on Friday.
I certainly will.
Indeed you will. Good luck.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
That's deadly. Paddy's Day doesn't have to revolve around drink for those of you who are planning on spending Paddy's Day in the pub. Don't give in to the typical Irish stereotype that we're all a nation of pissheads. You can actually enjoy... I've never drank on Paddy's Day. Never even had as much as one drink on Paddy's Day. And I enjoy every single Paddy's Day. It doesn't have to revolve around drink. Thank you.
Dave, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Dave?
Hi, lads.
Dave, what was the most recent lie you told your other half?
Oh, well, the missus just make the odd, lunch for work.
Right.
And sometimes it's a bit gank, so I tell her it's lovely and I sneak off to the chippers.
Oh, no. So you bin her lunch?
I pass it on.
What do you mean?
What, you give it to somebody else?
Well, no, I throw it in the bin, but I can't say that on air.
Well, you just did.
But if she says, "How was your lunch today?" you answer, "Oh, it was great.
It was lovely, darling.
And thank you very much."
Yeah, I had a double decker and chips.
Now, what makes her sandwiches rancid?
Sorry, what's a double decker, by the way?
It's like a Big Mac.
Double quarter pounder, like. Huge joke.
Like a half pounder?
Yeah.
No, it's like a Big Mac. It's like a double burger kind of thing.
But what would make a sandwich made by yourself rancid?
Butter, cheese. I can't put butter and cheese together.
Oh, right. Who knew?
And have you ever told her that she's a bad cook?
No, she's a bad cook. She's just not a great one.
Yeah, I have to say now, I have done the same. Did you enjoy the dinner? Yeah, it was gorgeous.
I know, but your missus actually is a good cook,
yeah,
isn't
she is a good cook, yeah, thank God.
But your wife, maybe she's trying to poison you, Dave.
I wouldn't say so.
You wouldn't.
I'm a great catch.
Jesus, yeah, I'm sure you are.
I'm sure you are, right. Let me just bring in one last one.
Well, will I mention the other texts?
Which other ones?
Alluding to your celebrations. How do they all know about it?
Who's they all?
There's text messages.
One text. One.
Then there's no point in mentioning, is it?
One text.
Today's a big day for Adrian, that's all I'll say.
Thanks.
A milestone.
Milestone?
A milestone, yeah. When are you dyeing the hair blonde and buying a sports car? And getting yourself a Dolly Bird wife? That's what happens at that age.
Wayne, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Wayne?
Oh, yeah.
How are you,
Wayne, what was the most recent lie you told your other half?
Well, there was a dent in the back of the car, and I told her that wasn't me that done it.
Would you believe that that's actually on this list? I didn't put that dent or scratch in the car. It's actually on the list, right? And I tell you what's number one on the list of lies that we've told our other halves, yeah?
Yeah.
And I think we're, especially men, are guilty of it regularly, yeah? And I only did it the day before yesterday with my missus. I said to her, I am listening. That's it.
Oh, but then they ask you to repeat what they just said.
Oh, she does that all the time.
I know.
And then she catches me out.
Okay, what did I just say?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And have you ever done that yourself, Wayne?
It happens to me every day.
Yeah, I think it happens to most men. So that's number one on the list, believe it or not, of the most common lies we tell our other halves. I am listening.
Yeah.
And it comes out of my mouth regularly, and she goes ballistic.
The thing is, if women stop moaning, men would actually listen.
Really?
Yeah,
exactly.
That's why men don't listen. I don't want to listen to I don't want to listen to that I put the milk in the wrong shelf. And we have a milk shelf on the fridge.
Yeah.
And we're not allowed to deviate from the milk shelf. If I put the milk on a different shelf in the fridge, there's bloody war.
Really?
Like the milk belongs on the bottom fridge, and if I put it up the top and I'm giving out to it. So when she starts giving out to me about where I place my milk in the fridge, I just switch off and start singing songs to myself in my head. Da-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da.
Anyway, that's number one on the list of the most common lies is I am listening.
Finally, a text message from John about the autism and the Late Late Show. I have to say, I'm very disappointed that not one parent would and we put out the invite, would come on and talk to us about their child being autistic. But here's a message from John. Adrian, what do you think of this? Lads, you were giving out about Katie Hopkins' racist views on the Late Late Show some time back. Well, we weren't, John. We've never given out about Katie Hopkins on this show because we both believe that she has a right to
freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech. So you have the wrong radio show there, John. And now, because this kid has autism, you're now excusing these vile remarks and comments from the same kid. You address that issue. He's basically saying we're making excuses.
We're not making excuses
for this child.
No, we're not. We're just saying that just symbolises that people don't get autism. We're very ignorant when it comes to autism. And we've had a load of different text messages just on the whole autism thing, but not one of those people will talk to us. Is that right? Have you rang most of them, Jamie? Yeah. Yep. Oh, we've got one. Okay. Richard, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Richard?
Hi, how are you doing? Adrian, how are you?
Hey, Richard, you have a sister who has autism.
I do indeed, yeah.
And what did you want to say about the reaction? In fact, let me play the clip again, if you don't mind, Richard, of this young fella from the Late Late the other night. For people who didn't hear it, this was a discussion all about autism. The panel on the Late Late on Friday included 3 different people with autism. And this was kind of the end of the interview, and the young fella Hughie Malone was asked this by Ryan Tuberty.
What is your aim in life? What would you love to be doing in, say, 10 years' time? Have you thought about it? Because I know you love history, right? You love history?
Driving planes in buildings.
Driving what?
Driving planes into skyscrapers.
Right, well, let's say that's not a career option. What else would you like to do?
Move to Iraq and become a terrorist.
Right. Now, they're the comments that he made on the Late Late the other day. Now, there was huge social media backlash to this, but it kind of, in our opinion, highlighted the ignorance that people have towards people with autism. Now, Richard, what did you want to say on this?
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking. The first young fella that was on, it wasn't a very good representation of autism, because when I seen him, he was very clued in. So the first fellow was very he was able to explain his autism very well, and he was very articulate in the way he was speaking, which was brilliant, and it was great to see that he could overcome it to a certain extent. But it it wasn't a very good representation of people across the board with autism.
I know, but I guess, sorry, Richard, I guess that's why they had 3 guests on, because they obviously had the girl as well. So I guess that was the reason for that the 3 people, you'd get something from each one of them, you know.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I was getting at. So that's why I said the progression was there, which is really, really good. So it kind of got to the end, and I was kind of half expecting a different interview saying, "Oh, geez, they're going to paint autism in a great light. That it's not so bad." And people would say, "Oh, what's the problem with people with autism?" But then when that kid came out with that remark, I was actually kind of relieved, because they do say inappropriate things.
And that to me, I have to say, looking at it, to me, highlighted, it pinpointed autism for me.
So, Richard, why did Twitter and Facebook go absolutely ape on Friday night then, with people making fun of the child? And
it's just, I think people are afraid of what they don't understand, and it seems to be like for years we had my mother and my father and myself. When we go out, my father, he'd have a very short fuse, and we'd go out to a restaurant, and my sister would say something completely inappropriate, like, "Oh my God, the Gardaí are coming." She'd see a guard, and she'd freak out, and there's certain things that would trigger in her mind.
And is she, sorry for going across you, has she, or does she regularly say inappropriate stuff, like what that guy Huey said on the Late Late?
Yeah, so she would turn around and say, for instance, if you were having a row with her, so if she did something that you wouldn't agree with, you'd say, "Oh, stop it now, you're just being bold." And she goes, "Oh, stop raping me." You know, she'd say something completely out of context. And, you know, for someone on the outside listening in, you'd say, "Good Jesus, what is going on there?" But
yeah, well, I'm just imagining if myself and Adrian were out having a meal, and we heard, and you and your sister happened to be sitting at the next table, and she turned around and said, "Stop raping me." Again, we wouldn't understand what was going on, and we'd be shocked by it.
But your belief, from having a sister who has autism, your belief is that young fella's comments actually highlighted autism.
Exactly.
Yes, and I agree with you 100%. I think it highlights it perfectly. Stay there for 1 second.
By the way, I'm just looking up the figures here, Adrian. What would you say the prevalence of autism in Ireland is? How many people?
It's quite high, I believe.
One in what?
Oh, I haven't a clue.
What would you say?
1 in 100?
Yeah, it actually is 1 in 100.
Yeah.
That's a lot higher than I expected it to be.
Yeah. We're on 98FM. Hi, Janice.
Hey.
Now, Janice, you have an 11-year-old with autism.
Yeah, she was diagnosed when she was 2. She's in Stuart's early intervention.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry for getting upset. It's just a very touchy subject. I think that's why most parents don't like to come on radio and explain it, because it's just very hard, and it just affects the parent, affects the whole family, affects the whole community they're in.
I know, I can totally understand your upset.
Yeah, but you can't, Adrian.
No, but I can. I'm a parent.
No, but we can't.
And I would imagine, to hear some of the commentary that there has been over the last couple of days, for a parent of a child with autism, has to really bring it home, doesn't it, Janice?
Yeah, it does. I was very young when I had her. I was 19 when I had her. So by the age of 21, I had a special needs daughter. I was on my own. Our dad has never been involved. And it's understanding it and doing the research and learning by your mistakes and getting them in a good routine. And I could take my hat off to that boy's parents for the way he's talking, because I'd give anything for my daughter to go on a talk show and talk and explain herself. But they do. They don't see the autism. They live in their own little world. They live in like a bubble, say for instance, and they don't understand. What happens to them, their world they live in, is their world. So that's why little things upset them and they have a meltdown.
Okay, so what people don't understand is how a young fella like that boy on the Late Late the other, and let's face facts here. He was only a boy. He was only a child.
He was very.
No, I didn't see the Late Late. I was actually walking to the gym and I heard the topic. So I'm outside the gym now, waiting to go into boot camp. But I heard it and I was like, I just have to explain it to you and to everyone out there, because that little boy, he could have been easily talking about a video game he was playing.
Okay, but let's ask you the question then. Okay, not why did he say it. Okay, what?
Yeah.
He obviously has autism. What in his mind made him think that was appropriate or acceptable to say on the television?
I don't know, like, my daughter comes out, like, we were going to Spree yesterday, and she wanted to be Princess Anna going to Spree, out of the middle of nowhere, and we do a week on week, it's our weekly routine. She gets on her tracksuit and goes, but just this week she got something into her head, she wants to be Princess Anna going to Spree. I just let her, because at the end of the day, that's what she wants now. I wouldn't let that little boy try her playing into
But do you ever have a situation where members of the public say she says something inappropriate in public or in a restaurant? Do you ever have members of the public looking at her like
all the time?
Well, give us an example of that, where they looked at her like she had 6 heads because of something.
We go to Trabolgan every year for holidays, and I think because when you were talking about this popped into my head straight away. She's about 7 or 8 she was at the time, and we were coming out of the swimming pool, and she just had a big huge meltdown in the middle of the Trabolgan Square, where you probably know, and she was lying on the ground kicking, screaming. We said we bring her in the little shop, get her something to calm her down, a treat. So we brought her into the shop. She was still kicking and screaming. My dad, thank God I had him with me, lifted her up, carried her, and was like, I'm just going to the house with her. So I said, fine, right, I need to get a few bits. I was with me, man. There was a woman on the queue, and she goes, Jesus Christ, you have your hands full. I said, I actually don't. She's autistic. She doesn't know why. She has to leave the swimming pool. And your woman just looked at me, and she was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I just go, yeah, I know, but you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. She looks fine, but she's autistic, so, and she just turned her head. Like,
so the point being that autism, and like Jeremy said earlier on, my only experience firsthand of autism is actually from a television, from a movie.
Rain Man, yeah.
And you can see how, in a lot of cases, somebody with autism might make inappropriate comments. But stay there for 1 second, because Dan, you believe people are actually justifying the young fella's comments.
Well, to be honest, people are forgetting a few things, a lot of things actually, when you think about it. It's all pointed out something at the beginning of the conversation that there are varying levels, many different varying levels of autism. So no two people with autism are the same.
Absolutely.
So eliminate that thinking from the start. But the boy was able to understand the question that he was asked, and he responded with an answer. Not an answer that he plucked out of thin air, or he got off a program, or he randomly saw it on a cartoon. This was something that the child thought about. It's in his head.
No,
listen, let me finish. It's fair to say that the child is going to respond with the first response, the first thing that he has. You can hear by the question, by the way he's having the conversation on the Late Late Show, that he has a certain level of intelligence. Now, the first answer that he gives is in relation to terrorism. It's a terrorist act. And the second answer he gives is in relation to terrorism. Now, neither of the questions that he asked were in relation to terrorism, but he gave 2 answers in relation to terrorism and a little laugh in relation to them. So therefore, he knows the first answer is a terrorist answer and the second answer is a terrorist answer, and his mind is able to make the comparison between the two of them. He understands that terrorist act is not accepted. He clearly understands that. There's no two ways about that, but it sounds like people are trying to justify what he said by saying he's autistic.
Dan, I don't agree.
It's wrong to justify what he said because he's autistic, because that's saying that autistic people say stupid things when they don't. Autistic people are some of the most intelligent people in the world.
I agree.
There's autistic people out there that would wipe the floor with the likes of Stephen Hawking.
Doesn't it highlight how somebody with autism can say inappropriate things?
Of course they can. They're no different from anybody else at the end of the day. I know they have autism, and there's different levels of it, and some people's is more severe than other people's. But that's related to, what's the word I'm looking for? That's per individual, each individual. But this boy the other night, you don't need to have him in the same... autism is not a one category suits all. It's a one category with 150 million different versions in it. And every one of them is different. They're as different as DNA.
Okay, but
to turn around and say that young boy said them things, it's okay, he's autistic. That statement alone is wrong to say, it's okay, he's autistic. Because that's just the point of what he said, because he hasn't...
Okay, stay there for 1 second.
He's not.
Okay, hang on. Relax there for 1 second. Let me just bring in Lorraine. You're on 98FM, Lorraine. How are you?
How are you, Grant?
Lorraine, what do you say to... you also have a child with autism.
Hey, you're very low there, sorry.
You also have a child with autism?
Yeah, I have a 7-year-old son with autism, yeah. And what that man down there was saying, does he have someone that has autism, a relation, a child? Does he have somebody?
No, I don't think you do. Do you, Dan?
Yeah, exactly.
I have a cousin of mine who has a child who's autistic.
Yeah, but you're making the point there that he knows exactly what he knows the question he's being asked.
He clearly does, because the two answers that he gave are related to each other in nature.
Yeah, but the answers are related to one another, but they're not related to the question.
The point I'm making is, if his autism was responsible for the answer, then logic would dictate that both answers would be completely different. But he's both
you have
answers,
to think it from that child's point of view. He's sitting up there in front of a crowd full of people.
It doesn't matter.
Severe pressure over that crowd.
Justifying what he said by saying he's autistic.
No, I'm not justifying it. You have to understand that that's what came to his mind at that particular time.
By saying he's autistic, excuse me, is wrong. That's putting autistic people in the wrong category.
No, it's not, because anyone that has kids with autism knows everyone is different.
You're using the word autistic generally, and the word autistic is not general. It's individual to every person. Some people are only...
Yeah, so you have no idea why he said that.
Now, the point that I'm making is the child, you can tell by the child's answers. But the clear answers that he gave were both related to the same
subject.
But
Dan, you're not... Hang on for 1 second. Dan, the point is that this highlights autism and the fact that people with autism can make comments that
are inappropriate. I mean, Dan, are you suggesting...
Exactly.
No, hang on, Dan. Are you suggesting that Huey, the young fella, that he knew the appropriate, or that the comments were inappropriate and he still made them?
I'm suggesting 100% that he knew what he answered.
No, he didn't.
How do you know he didn't? Are you
because you have to understand, my child is 7 years old. Let me talk for a second.
Your child is 7 years old, but you have to listen to what this child said.
No, you have to listen and let my point of view come across.
Go on, Lorraine, I listen to you. Go on.
My child is 7 years old and he's extremely intelligent. And he comes out, if I ask him a question, he could give me an answer that's completely irrelevant to anything I've just asked him. Because he's in a different train of thought. They don't always be listening fully to what you're asking them. And they give you an answer that's nothing to do with the question.
Does he say inappropriate things that embarrass you?
He does, yeah. He could say a completely inappropriate thing.
Give us an example of something that he said that you were cringing over.
Well, I mean, for instance, there yesterday, we live in a housing estate here, and there's a Lithuanian family that live across the road from us, and she was out with her children playing with my children, and because she spoke in Lithuanian to her child, that just to him, he's like, what the hell language are you talking? Why are you speaking like that? And I explained, she speaks a different language, she's Lithuanian, she does speak English, and to him that didn't make sense, because if you speak, he should know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make sense to him. If you talk, he should understand you regardless of where you're from.
And does he say that in front of the Lithuanian woman?
Oh yeah, he went up to her and asked her, what the hell are you speaking? What is that language you're speaking? I have no idea what you just said.
Do me a favour, Lorraine, do me a favour and stay there for 1 second if you can, please, because I have to take a quick break and I'll come back to you in just a moment. And Wayne, I know you wanted to talk to Dan. If you stay there for 1 second, I'll be with you in a moment, okay? Thank you.
Isn't this great that in the last 15 minutes we're after learning more and understanding more about autism than we ever did before?
We're back in just a moment. It's Monday's Dublin Talks at 98FM. I'm Adrian, he's Jeremy. This conversation... we're talking, if you've just joined us, about a young fella on the Late Late on Friday night. And for those of you who didn't hear this, let me just play it again. This is at the end of a conversation about autism with three autistic people. And one of them is a young boy. And here's what he said to Ryan Tuberty.
What is your aim in life? What would you love to be doing in, say, 10 years' time? Have you thought about it? Because I know you love history, right? You love history?
Driving planes in buildings.
Driving what?
Driving planes into skyscrapers.
Right, well, let's say that's not a career option. What else would you like to do?
Move to Iraq and become a terrorist.
Right.
But okay, so there's his comments, and people went ballistic on social media in the aftermath of that appearance.
I think it's actually, looking back in it now, I think it's great that he said that, because what it has done is it's opened a debate about autism where we've never had a debate before, and I found this last half an hour, I found it very interesting and enlightening. Have you not?
Absolutely.
That we've learned something that we never knew.
Wayne, you have a son who's autistic, is that right?
Yeah.
And what do you want to say, Wayne?
Say that, it's not every child is like Dan said, they're not all the same, yeah?
Yes.
You don't understand what they're doing or what's going on around them, or and that they're in their own little bubble.
Sorry,
that's the way my son is.
Sorry, say that again. Your mobile crack there. Say that again, please, Wayne.
Yeah, the girl was on before and she said they're in their own little world.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the way my son is. He's only 3, but we can imagine and as he gets older, he's going to get worse, you know?
And as regard, you heard what Dan said. He believes that that young man knew exactly what he was saying.
No, I don't agree with that, because I think he just thought that was a funny response, you know, and to get a reaction.
Sorry, Wayne, I'm going to have to get Jamie to ring you straight back if you don't mind. Your mobile is really, really bad. We'll ring you straight back.
Can I just read out a text message there that's for Dan, because I know Dan is still on the line. Can someone tell Dan that there is no logic in autism? In other words, that there's no okay, you can obviously justify what he's saying, but there's no logic to what he said. Don't try and look for logic for what that young fella said, because there is none.
What would you say to that, Dan?
Everybody keeps on saying these things as if every autistic person has no sense of understanding, and that's bullcrap.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that.
Autism ranges from 1% to 1,000,000% into different people. So there's people out there who are slightly autistic and have full understandings of 99% of everything else in life. And if you listen to that boy being asked them questions, like the first question, after he's answered it, he thinks for a minute, he goes, it doesn't say an automatic response like you'd expect from an autistic child who's heavily autistic, who might be thinking of Miss Piggy or something she might have saw that day. He thought about the question and come up with an answer for the question. Now, the planes crashing into the buildings was obviously on his mind. At some point, for him to think about it or remember it or coordinate that with something that he could do when he gets older. And then the second question was the same. After he was asked that, he also paused. He said, he thought about it, and then he answered, and he sniggered after the both of them. Now, he clearly knows what he's saying. If he was heavily autistic and had no understanding about what he was saying, you would expect him to say, I'd like to grow up painting trees yellow.
No, but is it not fair to say, Dan, and stuff I've been reading up about, and again, I know very little, that children more so than adults even, that have autism lack a filter between their mouth and their brain, in that they think it in their brain, but it just goes where most of us would say, okay, that's
only in some of them, and it's obvious in the ones who suffer that way. It's obvious in them because you only need to ask them a question. But when I interpret you sitting down having a conversation about autism with an autistic person who understands the questions they're being asked about their autism, and then asks that question and gives a terrorist answers twice. And people are trying to say it's okay for him to understand the first half of his conversation and have a conversation on the first half of his conversation. But when it comes to terrorists, oh no, he only said that because he's autistic. Now, to turn around and say he only said that he's autistic, it's kind of saying that autistic people are at risk of becoming terrorists. And that's you can't put the autistic people in that category.
No, but you see, I don't believe, Dan, that young fella has any intention of being a terrorist.
No, let's make that clear. Yeah. He has no.
No, he didn't say that. I didn't say that. What I said is he fully understands what he was asked.
Okay, Wayne, let me just bring you back in. If we got you on a better line, I think we have. Wayne, basically Dan believes that that young fella probably knew exactly what he was saying.
Well, he probably didn't know what he was saying, but I don't think he knew what the impact of what people would think of what he said, you know?
Yes.
That's possible.
Dan, that is it. Do you know what I mean?
Possible. Maybe he didn't understand the impact of what he said, but there's no doubting that he understands what he said. There's no doubting that he understands terrorism. There's no doubting that.
It's an autistic child. Have you got an autistic child, Dan?
No, I'm not saying no, but I understand your son is autistic, and I understand that you have. He'd obviously have his certain levels of understanding, which you would be familiar.
Yeah,
exactly, which you would be familiar with. But I'd imagine that if we were to sit down and we asked your son the same questions, he'd either be baffled or he'd come up with something totally nothing to do with anything.
Okay, but stay there, both of you, for 1 second. Carmel's been on hold for ages. You're on 98 FM, Carmel. How are you?
Grand, thanks.
What did you want to say, Carmel?
Well, I have a daughter that has Asperger's, and it's actually a brain disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And part of her brain that's not working is where maths and like cycling and all like that is concerned. So we had to rewire her brain from 3 years old to put maths into another thing, where she can't do cycling, she can't do that. But she has gone to mainstream school. She's done her primary school, she's done secondary school, she's done the whole 6 years TY. She's done her leaving set, got a brilliant leaving set, and now she's in Tishkent at the HSC.
And what is your feeling on the whole thing on the Late Late?
The boy that was actually on it was high function autism, which he would be a rota learning. He would actually physically just be zooming in on one, as he said, history, and history would be his life, and nothing else would matter. So it's just he understands everything about it, but he wouldn't have the physicality of knowing his consequences for what he said.
And that's exactly the point that I've been trying to make. And to me, those comments from that boy highlight exactly what autism is. That's my feeling on it.
Yeah, the thing about it is you could ask him 5 different questions, but he'll always answer about the history first and then give you the answer that you would want.
Yes, yeah.
And that little laugh in between each one is their way of coping with stress.
All right, let me just bring in one very last call. Avril, you also have an autistic son. And
right, yeah.
Avril, can I just say very quickly, I want to apologise, and so does Adrian as well, for suggesting that parents, because we honestly thought that when we mentioned this, the first 20 people that texted in said, I'm embarrassed to go on air. So I just want to apologise and say, obviously, not all parents
That's
are.
fine. I don't understand, but I get some people they might be embarrassed by it, or it might hurt them or something like that, but my mentality on it is that you just have to deal with what comes with it every day now. Like, my son is Asperger's side of autism, and he's highly intelligent. But like that, listening to the comments of the late thing,
Oh, she's gone.
Oh, we've got... Sorry, Avril, we're having awful mobile phone issues today. Sorry, say that again, please. No, we've lost her. We've lost her altogether. Look, we're out of time anyway, but thank you very much indeed for your call. And thank you, Carmel, and thank you, Wayne, and thank you, Dan. A very interesting conversation.
I think that's been brilliant because really, hopefully we've all learned something from the last half an hour.
This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks. We're back in just a moment. Don't go away. Many of you listening at the moment regularly use your mobile phone when you're driving. Only this morning I was driving into work and there's a girl beside me in traffic and she has her phone in her hand, texting away or updating Facebook or whatever the hell she was doing. Some of you send texts, others update Facebook, and believe it or not, there's a growing trend of people taking and uploading photos of themselves when they're driving. How stupid is that? Want to get caught? Take a photograph of yourself while you're driving. Very intelligent. Anyway, the point is, surely it is time that this madness stopped. One man has come up with a solution to the problem of people continuing to do it. Every single day of the week I see it. And I can put myself in the good boy category here because I'm the first to admit that I used to do it. I'm the first to admit that I used to text when I was driving. I used to be on the phone when I was driving. But a couple of penalty points and that knocked that out of me. I stopped, basically. You see. So here's the question that I want to ask you. A road safety officer in County Mayo wants motorists who are caught using their mobile phone while they're driving in Ireland to have their devices impounded. So, okay, a guard comes up to the window. There you are, you're talking, he catches you on your phone, catches you texting, catches you doing whatever. He just takes the phone off you. Good luck to you. It's gone. It's confiscated. Noel Gibbons of Mayo County Council thinks that the introduction of a programme like this in Ireland could prove very effective. He said, I believe similar action here in Ireland would have very beneficial effects, as most people are very attached to their phones. In other words, if you were to hand over your phone at a checkpoint, you would think twice the next time about texting and driving. Now, Cape Town in South Africa is one place where this law works very well. Okay? The number of cell phones impounded by traffic police in Cape Town in South Africa is on the rise. Since 2012... police have impounded phones from drivers who were caught using their handsets without legal hands-free kits. City officials confirmed an increase in the number of devices. It was 1,539 phones just taken off people. Thanks, good luck. You were caught texting while you were driving. Give me your phone, you're done. I'd love to hear from you on this. Is this the solution? If you're somebody who's ever been involved in a car crash because somebody was texting or taking photographs or doing Facebook or talking on their phone, I would love to hear from you, because people just don't take this seriously enough. That's the problem. People don't take it seriously enough. 6797981 is our telephone number. Angela, you're on 98FM. How are you, Angela?
Hi, Adrian. How are you?
Angela, I'm running a Dublin Talks Twitter poll right now, and we're asking, if drivers are caught texting, should their phones be permanently removed? Should they have their phones... Oh, you agree? Well, in our poll, 69% have said no. 69% have said no, you shouldn't have your phone taken from you, but you think you should?
I think you should. I think it's too easy, and as you said... I'm with you on, yes, I am guilty of doing it before, being on the phone, texting on the phone, you know. But now phones are so, you use them for everything. And what about that idiot who got caught Snapchatting out the window of his phone?
Like, seriously, what in God's name is somebody like that doing?
And then you get people, and it's the first thing I always do is, if something goes up on Facebook or a picture and they're saying, look at this idiot in front of what he's doing, you're going, you can clearly see that you've actually taken that photograph from the driver's side. So you're actually driving. There's too much on phones now not to take it off of people. And even if it's for a week, confiscated for a week, you'll think about doing it again.
Will you, if it's only taken from you for a week?
Yeah, I think a week. Do you know what people would be like if they took it off for the day? No, mind a week.
Okay, so you would have take people's phones off them for a whole week, and you can come back to the Garda station next week and claim it. And take your penalty points and all that.
Do you know, like if you're driving along taking a photograph, take it for the month. If you're driving along on the phone, do you know, if you're on a phone call, take it for the week. If you're texting seems to be the worst thing. So take it for 6 months.
Take it for 6 months?
Yeah. I think there should be, you know, like a ladder of, you know, that, okay, if you're, like, the one thing that I use my phone for when I'm driving is a sat-nav. You know, I do. Yeah,
I do myself, but I have my phone in a cradle on the dash.
Yeah.
And I do use it for sat-nav as well now, I have to be honest.
And that's why I'm saying there's things like that where you're going, okay, listen, I switched directions and I have to do this. And take it off them for the week, you know. And I think even a week would suffice for a lot of people because their lives depend on it. And it's not a thing of, and this is the biggest thing, it's not like, okay, we need you to hand your phone into the Garda station this evening. No, it's gone now. So you have emails, you have text messages, you've photographed everything on your phone that aren't backed up. They'll soon learn.
Okay, so that's the message. If you want to keep your phone, don't use it in the car.
Yeah.
Well, stay there for 1 second, Angela. I would love to hear from you on this on 6797981. Now, this isn't an off-the-wall idea. This is something that actually happens. In Cape Town in South Africa, the number of phones impounded for the last quarter of 2015 was 1,539 in Cape Town in South Africa. And the city of Cape Town, get a load of this, it's not just for a week. The city of Cape Town has the right to sell impounded property and give the proceeds to charity. That would soon stop you, wouldn't it? Carly, you're on 98 FM. Hiya, Carly.
Hi, Adrian.
Now, Carly, it says on my screen here that you regularly use your phone when you're driving.
I do, Adrian, and I tell you what, most people that say they don't are liars.
I'm saying I don't.
You know, you're saying you never did, Adrian.
I didn't say that. I've already admitted that I used to.
What made you change your mind, Adrian?
I got penalty points for being caught twice using my phone, so I was up to 6 penalty points. Didn't want any more of that, so I eventually bought a car that had Bluetooth in it, and I use a cradle where I have my phone on the dash, so I never use my phone. I can put my hand on my heart and say that.
Right, so that worked for you, Adrian. That was enough of a deterrent, right? But your woman on there like the Gestapo, a simpleton, talking about grading people's, you know, how bold they are depends on the severance of their punishment. That's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, I do. And I tell you, I used to work, Adrian, right, at a job where you had to upload information online, right, on a laptop. Right, and I had like a small laptop, and I'm telling you the truth, Adrian, I got a chunk of my work done sitting in traffic at traffic lights, stuck on the M50 for an hour. Sure, I'd get most of my day's work done sitting in traffic, typing the stuff up, uploading data. So, you know, and at the end of the day, does that mean taxi drivers is not allowed to press buttons to look for addresses or talk to the radio, you know, to the base where they get their fares from?
They can do all that while they're parked, while they're pulled into the rank, when whatever.
No, they don't, Adrian. No, they don't. I've been in taxis and they're on to the base talking about their next fares. That's why they fly all over the place, hurrying up to catch the next one that they're in the area. Even them simple Lewis drivers, right? They have to keep their eye on all them controls, to be sitting flicking switches while they're driving the Lewis, are supposed to be driving it. And, you know, does that mean they can't do that? Bus drivers, they all have some sort of communication. And, like, your woman is just making out that, you know, no one does it. Of course you do. And the way she's carrying on, grade and see, depending on what you did wrong. I update my Facebook, the whole lot. Yeah, I do. I've never had an accident.
You update your Facebook while you're driving?
Yeah. Everyone does.
No, everyone doesn't.
Loads of people do, Adrian.
No, Carly, loads of people don't.
Adrian, they do. You just see stuck in traffic. I'm in this clip now, the M50 is back to back, the whole lot. You see loads of Facebook update all the status on what's going on in the traffic. Do you know what I mean?
There you are, Angela.
Oh,
she thinks everybody does it. Everybody doesn't do it.
No, they don't. Everyone doesn't do it. How dare she call me a simpleton? It's against the law.
Yeah, the simpleton. You never even hear the traffic report.
Can I ask you a question? Have you ever lost someone through somebody being on the phone or texting and somebody you know has been killed? Because I hope it never happens to you.
Why, did you?
Yes, I did. Do you know me? No, you don't.
No, I don't know you. Do you know me? Who are you to bleed and judge me on over using the phone? And stop looking. You're only looking for a sympathy vote. You're only looking for a sympathy vote to prove your point.
Oh, I'm only looking for... Excuse me. You called me a simpleton. You're out there...
Yeah, carrying on like a simpleton. And I come in and tell you something else, Angela, right?
Can somebody speak? You're out there putting everyone else's lives in danger because you're updating your laptop. Do you know what? I hope you never lose someone like that.
Piss off. Listen to me, Angela, right? Do you know what you're doing at the moment? Do you know what you're doing at the moment, Angela, right? You're putting thousands and thousands of listeners to 98FM at risk of dying of bleeding boredom listening to you. That's what you're doing.
No, she's not. The fact of the matter is, her name is Angela. I don't know where you got Andrew from, but the fact of the matter is she's the one speaking sense. You should not be driving your car and using your mobile phone. Have you not copped on? Do you drink?
I'm driving 15 years, never had an accident.
Carly, I've spoken to people who say, I used to drink and drive. I don't do it anymore, though, because I copped on to myself.
Exactly. People
come here, Adrian. Listen to what she's saying, right? What? You're looking... Hang on a minute, Angela. Hang on a minute, right?
Okay.
You use an example, Angela, right, that you lost a loved one, right? Now, first of all, I'm sorry you lost someone, right? But, like, I've lost people too, right? Now... what you're saying is that everyone is to be punished. So, see, what's wrong with you is you're super sensitive about this because you lost someone, right? So what you're saying is there, right? That'd be like me saying, oh, someone belonging to me got a bang of a bus, get all the buses off the road. You need to cop on, Angela, and realise that not everyone is the same.
Carly,
it's like someone getting stung with a bee and dropping dead.
Carly, I have to say, like I said, and I'm putting my hands up and I'm admitting, and I'm sure most people listening right now will admit the same thing. I used to use my phone all the time when I was driving. I used to use it for texting. I used to use it all the time. And then I eventually copped onto myself, okay? And I stopped doing it. Now, the penalty points helped me stop doing it, but it did. And I haven't used my phone, I can honestly say, while I'm driving in the last probably maybe 2.5 years, okay? Now, to the point that on one occasion about 6 months ago, I had to answer the phone because the hands-free wasn't working and I felt weird having the phone in my hand. I felt weird. I've become that used to it. The point I'm making is, Carly, you need to cop onto yourself. This is something you should not be doing anymore.
And I'm sure your employer would be delighted to hear that you were sitting going along the road using your laptop. I'm sure they'd be delighted to hear that.
Do you know what, Mia?
You'd be sacked straight away.
Mia, you don't even know who I was working for. First of all, if you listen, you'll hear I said a job I had, right, a few years back. Second of all, to be quite honest with you, the employer I had wouldn't have given a shite if where I'd done it as long as the work was done. Done the same themselves, and it was the talk of the office that most of us got our work done on the road. All right, so it's not only me.
Carly, can I ask you, do you have children?
Yeah, I have 4 kids.
You have 4, right. And would you ever be texting or Facebooking or using your phone when you have the kids in the car?
Well, I'm not going to comment on that, Adrian.
Well, that's a yes. Straight away, that's a yes.
Well, I don't. You can take that what you want, Angela.
Well, if it was a no, you'd just say no. Why can't you answer an easy question?
Don't feel like I'm not obliged to answer a question.
Well, hold on a second. So it's all right that you drive around updating your Facebook, updating your laptop on the phone, and worse to make it worse, and you know it's worse that you have kids in the car.
Emma.
So you're admitting you do?
I ignore the fact that I'm at telling you the length I'm driving and never ever had as much as a scratch.
Carly, you're brilliant. You're brilliant. What do you want? A medal because you've never had as much as a scratch? It's only.
I'm proving a point that most of the population does it, Adrian.
No, I don't think most of the population does it. I think a lot of people do it. I don't think it's most of the population, though. Jay, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Jay?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Good.
As you know, Mr. Dixon, I'm a truck driver. I'm out on the roads all the time. I see gobshites like that woman on Facebook, and we like to call it on the M50. And the reason she's stuck in an hour's worth of traffic on the M50 is because of gobshites like her Facebooking when they're driving. It's a disgrace. And she does it with her kids in the car. It just goes to show you the mentality of these people that live their life by Facebook, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who are you calling a gobshite?
You, love, you.
A truck driver?
Yeah.
I mean, at least all I'm doing is on Facebook or doing whatever, right? When I'm taking one off the wrist, like I've seen you and your colleagues doing, then I'd worry.
Mick, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Mick?
Hey, how are you?
No, I'm grand, thanks, Mick. What did you want to say?
Yeah, and of course I agree with you to do it, and I stopped like yourself. You have penalty points, when you stopped. It does frighten you into stopping. But also, sympathy to that other girl, Angela. She lost somebody from a phone, somebody using their phone. But
yes.
The point I'm making is, you have to lead by example, and the people should be leading is the guards themselves. They work out every day of the week, and I see it all the time.
Unfortunately, Mick,
I know what you're going to say. Yeah,
what am I going to say? Tell me what I'm going to say.
I know what you're going to say. They're exempt.
Yes.
But they don't have to use their mobile phones. They have top-of-the-range radios now, which the state paid millions for. So they don't have to. The excuse before was they had to because their radios weren't working. Now, if it's going to happen, they have to lead by example.
And I get that, and I can understand. In fact, I remember speaking to a guy on this show a couple of months back, and he was annoyed because he was done for having his mobile phone in his hand, and the guard got back into his car, picked up his own mobile phone and drove off. Now, I understand the hypocrisy of that, but the law is the law, and the guards are exempted from that law.
Well, if they're going to change the law to take people's phones off, then they have to change the law for people that they're in the emergency service. They shouldn't be using their phone, Adrian. Simple as that.
No,
Lead by
but
example.
yes, and I completely understand. And every time I see a guard with his phone in his hand, it annoys me because they're not leading by example. But I still feel that the law is the law, and whether we like it or not. And the reason that law took so long to bring in the first place was because the guards had to be exempted from it.
Well,
So-
I have to disagree with you, Aidan, because I remember one time I was going down Stephen's Green and my wife was in the car with me, and there was a guard in the car beside me, and he's using the phone, and she was looking at him, and he rolled his window down, and he said to her, "Have you got a problem?" And she says, "Yeah, you on your phone, you should be leading by example." And you know what he done? He tore off and done a U-turn up the top of the road and down like a raving lunatic because somebody commented to him about it.
Yeah, no, and it doesn't make sense.
Some of them are gobshites, Adrian. Now they're on their phone, they're chatting to their girlfriends and whoever. You know, they're certainly not for work anyway.
No, I mean, it does make sense that people get annoyed about it, but
No, you can't, Adrian. Law or no law, you can't have one rule for one and another for. The excuse, as I said to you before, was that their radios didn't work and they had to use it for work.
okay, so what would you like to see that law revisited?
Yeah. If you're gonna take phones off people for using their law, well then, lead by example. Simple as,
All right, 6797 981 is our telephone number. 0877 98 98 98 is our text or WhatsApp number. This is Adrian Kennedy. This is 98FM's Dublin Talks. And Jeremy is here with WhatsApp and text messages and Facebook messages. And
a lot of reaction.
all sorts.
A lot of reaction towards that woman. Leila says, that woman you have on the air at the moment should have her children taken off her. She's putting their lives at risk. Leila, she didn't actually say that she texts with her children in the car.
She didn't say she didn't either.
But
Carly, I'm going to put you under pressure now. Yes or no, do you ever text or Facebook or whatever, use your phone while you're driving with your kids in the car?
Well, Adrian, I'm not not going to say anything like that on air, am I?
Why? But what would happen if you did say it?
I'm not answering it.
But sure, what do you think is going to happen if you do answer it?
Well, you're putting yourself out to the judgment, to the likes of the Angelas and all the rest. That sap, that truck driver. Do you know what I mean? That they all jump on the bandwagon. Oh, the kids. Fools. The carry on of them is ridiculous.
Stay there for a second.
That woman is...
Sorry, what? Her thoughts on this are...
By the way, she's not the only one.
That's what I was about to say. Her thoughts on this are the thoughts of thousands of people who... In fact, there are people listening to us right now, right this very second, driving around town, who have their mobile phone in their hand.
Every single day of the week on this show, we get text messages from people, and at the end of the text message it says, "Don't ring me back, I'm driving."
That's the truth.
I know people on Snapchat that send snaps while they're driving as well. There's fitness people, women involved in fitness in Ireland, and I've seen the photographs, and they're driving along in their car with the phone right up to the windscreen taking photographs of themselves. So it's not just that woman, Carla. Angela is a lovely lady. That one, Carly, is a complete scumbag. Would you not put somebody else on your programme, says Marion and Drogheda. But she rang in, Marion, in fairness. If we don't put people on when they bring in the show, we don't have a show. We'll be playing dead air for the whole entirety of the show. Peter says, I can't believe that this law is coming in. No, Peter, it's not coming in. It's being
suggested. But it is a law that does operate very effectively in places like Cape Town in South Africa, where, as I've already said to you, thousands of phones have been confiscated. You're caught on your phone, they take your phone off you. Simple. That'd stop you, I have to say. You know how much I love my phone, yeah?
Yeah.
The thoughts of a guard coming along and saying, "Thanks, good luck,"
with all your photographs, contacts, the whole lot. I agree. I agree with this punishment, says Kelly. I think if you start taking these phones off the people, they will act as a deterrent. At the moment, all you have is 2 penalty points as a deterrent. Is that much?
It's 3 now.
Yeah. But it's still not much. Natalie says they should impound your phone and car and leave you standing there on the side of the road.
And then you couldn't even ring for a lift?
Yeah, and David finally says they won't be getting my mobile phone off you. Good man, David. Big hard man.
Should mobile phones be confiscated if you're caught using them behind the wheel of your car? That's what we're asking you.
The show getting Dublin talking.
98FM's Dublin Talks.
Paul, you're on 98FM. How are you, Paul?
Not too bad.
What did you want to say, Paul?
No, I don't agree with the phones getting taken off you. Because at the end of the day, Adrian, I mean, you know as well as I do and everybody else out there that if it's taken off you for a week, a month or a year, all they're going to do, they're going to get another phone. And people are constantly going to use their phones, regardless if execution, they're going to put you up against the wall and shoot you. They're still going to use it, you know?
And why do you use yours?
No, I have to say I don't. Now,
well, there you go. So how can you not do it? How can I not do it? And other people can't resist the temptation?
It's just society. Mobile phones are part of our life now.
Mobile phone's part of my life as well, Paul. I use it all.
Understand that.
In fact, as I'm sitting here talking to you, I have two in front of me. I have a work phone with our WhatsApps, and I have my own personal phone. I've bloody phones all over the place. But when I get in behind the wheel of the car, I stick it up on the dash, and I leave it there.
And you should do. You should, yeah. No, I totally agree. But what I'm saying is that people are going to keep using them. And getting back to the guards, Adrian, I was going to walk one morning, going down Leeson Street towards Stephen's Green, and an unmarked guarded car in front of me. He was trying to get into the bus lane, and two of them in the car. The driver was on the phone, cut straight across me, nearly tore the wing off me. I blew him out of it. The passenger lad turned around, stares at me, looks at me and throws his hands in the air as if to say, what? You know, it's like, if they're setting an example, I do think that they should not use the phone unless it's an emergency.
Yep.
Because, I mean, he could have hit my car. Only for I braked, and I blew the horn on him. I threw my hands in the air. I said, what are you doing? He looked back at me and throws his hands in the air and goes, what? Like, they have a terrible attitude when it comes to it.
And like I said, I've seen it myself, and I've talked to people who got done for talking on their phone, and 2 minutes later the guy gets back into his car and picks up his phone. It's just such hypocrisy. But I think I think the law could be changed somewhat.
Well, I think it should be changed, Adrian.
Yeah, no, I do.
Because it's going to take something to happen in order for it to like someone. It's going to take someone to get killed. It's going to be on Vincent Brown TV show.
Yeah, I think if there are two guards in the car, there is no excuse for them using a mobile phone.
Why are they allowed? Like, I know they're exempt, but why isn't the passenger lad? He's sitting there twiddling his thumbs. The other lad's driving.
Yeah,
I know it's not in the outskirts of Dublin. It's in the city centre. This is happening.
But let me go back to the this suggestion, and this, like I said, is operating very successfully in Cape Town in South Africa. 1,539 phones confiscated between October and December last year. Now, you multiply that over a year, that's 6,000 phones in a city about the same size as Dublin. Why couldn't we do the same thing here? Why not?
It's interesting.
Because I have to say, if I got pulled in by a guard and he took my lovely iPhone off me, I'd be very upset. I certainly would think twice about doing it again.
But I think it's like everything else, Adrian. Like when you're speeding, you get caught, and you get your points and your fine, and you go, okay, I'll never do that again. But gradually, you do it again. You do. Some people
there's another example. I drive like a granny now because I had. This is the God's honest truth. I had a lot of penalty points.
Wasn't you? I was stuck behind one day, was it?
No, but at one stage I was up to 10 penalty points between mobile phone and speeding, and I don't do either now.
And 2 more and you would have been off the road.
Yeah, exactly. I drive like a granny now, and I've 0 penalty points, and I intend keeping it that way. But
I think we're at the early stages.
The point I'm making is I learned from my mistakes. I got punished with all those penalty points that...
Well, it goes back to the thing, Adrian, where some people will learn, some people won't. Unfortunately, like, this is the world we live in. And as I said, if you're going to...
Do you not think it's a clever way to stop people talking on their phone or using their phone? Take the bloody thing off them.
You could certainly try it. You could certainly try it. And I don't think that to just taking the phone off them, I think that person's name should go onto some sort of a registry where they were caught using it. And, as time goes on, and, if they get caught again, and, I don't know what can be done. As I said, we're at the teething stages with all of this. They're just trying things. They brought out points, they brought out fines. It's working for some, but not for all. But, there's a long road ahead of us, and,
Okay, stay there for 1 second, Paul. Stephen, you're on 98FM. How are you, Stephen?
Yeah, good. Listen, I don't think the phone is enough, Adrian. I think the car should be impounded. As a driver on the road, every night I'm going home on the M50, and there's at least 3 crashes a week because of people on their phone, like that fool earlier, your woman Carly. Unbelievable. And actually, I think you should report her and give her name, because if I was a guard, I'd find out who she was and I'd do what I could to her. She's a disgrace.
But it is. We can't start reporting people who call in radio shows. That is.
But you listen to their stories,
yeah. But I mean, I'm only taking this woman at face value. But Stephen, I understand you getting so annoyed, but I have to tell you, and you've just said it yourself. You see it every day, every single day, somebody driving at 110 kilometres up the M50 with a bloody mobile phone in their hand. And that is...
Take the cars off them and they'd be showing sort down it, Adrian. They wouldn't, because it's a hassle to go and get your car. You can pick up a phone for nothing nowadays. You probably have 3 of them in the drawer at home.
Carly, people like you are fools. That's really what he's saying.
He doesn't know his arse from his elbow. He's going around guessing there. He's saying the definite cause of the accidents on the M50 is people on their phones. How do you know?
Because it's done by... Because when the police do reports, you fucking idiot.
And what, are you a bleeding copper, are you?
Thank you very much indeed for all of your calls. In answer to our question earlier on, should mobile phones be confiscated? We ran a Dublin Talks Twitter poll in which we asked you that question, and the answer, let me just give you the final results of the poll. Hang on now. Like I said, I've loads of phones here. It's on this phone, or it's on that phone, or it's on the other phone. 69% of you said no. 69% said no, we should not be confiscating mobile phones off people, but 31% of you said yes. This is 98FM's Dublin Talks. If you're a single or separated father, you'll definitely have a strong opinion on this topic, because chances are you may not have 50-50 custody of your child. In many, many, many cases, when a couple with children split up, the child or children get to live with the mother, and the father becomes a part-time or a weekend father. Rarely is custody split 50-50, with the child spending equal nights with mother and father. And our question is it time that it changed? Do you believe that when a couple break up, that the custody should be split right down the middle? Providing, of course, both parents are fit parents. And why do you think that still to this day and age of equality, it's nearly always the father who becomes the part-time parent after a breakup? Well, a study online has suggested that joint custody is actually better for a child's health after a parental breakup. And I'd love to hear from you on this on 6797981. You can text or WhatsApp the programme on 0877 98 98 98. Basically, this research compared children who were with just one parent against children who spent equal amounts of time with both parents, and it found that the kids in joint custody arrangements are much happier and healthier. I'd love to hear from you on 6797981. Derek, you're on 98FM. How are you, Derek?
How are you doing? All right?
I'm good, thank you, Derek. Derek, tell me your story.
Well, I'm separated with 2 kids, right?
Okay.
The mother's a stay-at-home mother with 2 kids. I work all day. I work some nights. I work weekends. So it's practically impossible for me to do it. Now, I do pick a day, like it's Friday is my day, and I pick them on Sunday. They stay with me Friday night. If I get a chance during the week, if I finish work early, I'll pick them up. And, and I think my 2 kids are as happy as pig and shy. There's not a bother to them. Absolutely healthy, fit, enjoying both companies. They have best of both worlds, 2 parents,
Okay, but they spend most of their... Well, they certainly live with Mammy much more often. Do they ever stay with you?
Oh, they stay with me, yeah. They stay with me on a Friday night. They stay with me some Saturdays. They stay with me probably in the summer. They might stay on a Tuesday night, but I have to drop them home early,
Just literally because of your work.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Okay, because of your work, it's just not feasible.
And what I'm saying is, there is a lot of parents out there that can take their kids 50-50, but when you look at it, some of the times the mothers don't want it.
Some of the time the mother doesn't want it?
The mother doesn't want to let the child stay with the father 3.5 days a week.
And, I mean, that's literally what we're talking about. I wonder, and I'm just throwing this out there, even though this report says that a child is who spends equal periods of time with each parent tend to be happier and healthier than kids who are living with just one, I wonder, is it not very disruptive to have a child living with Mammy for 3.5 days and Daddy for the other 3.5 days?
I think it is. I think the only way the best way it can be done is if Mammy and Daddy can be amicable with each other and still talk to each other, that the child don't feel any stress with, like, I'll pick you up outside the house and the parents don't talk.
Yes.
That's different. That's like I have to go to your grannies to pick you up, or that's totally different. The child is totally disturbed.
So you think that there can be advantages to kids living with one rather than the other? to have.
Oh yeah, well I mean, like my children live with their mother, and it's a settled family. They have a great relationship with their mother and they have a great relationship with me. And anything they need, they ring me or whatever, and I'm there for them. And I get on with the mother.
And
we
you,
left
so that makes
on good terms.
Okay, that makes a big difference when you can actually get on.
It's a big difference when you get on with the mother of the kids. So when you're fighting with them and it's court and it's this, it's totally wrong.
All right, stay there for 1 second. 6797981 is our telephone number. Noelle, I'm going to talk to you straight after the break, but you believe that a child is always better off with mother?
Absolutely, Adrian. Just the mother, and that's it.
Now, why? If you have two parents and both of them are fit parents, we're not talking about one being an alcoholic or whatever, but they're both fit parents, they're both good parents, you still think a child is ultimately better off living with mammy?
Let's be honest, Adrian. At the end of the day, most fathers are imbeciles, so they wouldn't have a clue how to.
No, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. Most fathers aren't imbeciles.
Yes, they are, Adrian, and I think the man's role is to make sure he provides financially and stay out of everything else.
There you go, Derek.
Oh, God, this is a good one.
Now, she will argue with you, Derek, that that's exactly what you do, though.
Well, I won't argue with her, because that's her opinion, being a mother or being a woman, you know?
Absolutely, and I'm right, Derek, and well, you know it. I mean, Derek,
you're saying all fathers aren't competent to look after their own kids?
You sound like a typical McDonald's daddy, part-time daddy, who brings children
Jesus, you know what? Part-time daddy?
Yes, part-time daddy.
Have you got kids, Noelle?
Pardon?
Have you got kids?
Yes, I do.
Have you got a husband that's living at home with you?
Yes, I do.
So you're telling me if you ever split up with your husband, he will never see the kids, only financially give me money, that's it, good luck.
He can give me money to keep the children going. That's his job, you know.
And then he never see his kids. He doesn't have to see his kids.
Possible supervised access, maybe an hour a week with me there. And as for this business of introducing new partners, stuff like, no, absolutely no way.
Okay, do me a favour, both of you. Stay on the line there for 1 second. I have to take a very quick break, but I'll come back to you. And Derek, stay there as well if you can. We're in the middle of a conversation all to do with a report today which has said that a child's health is better after a parental breakup if there is literally 50-50 joint custody. Split right down the middle. 3.5 days with mammy, 3.5 days with daddy. Children in that setup... here's what the report says. When they spent equal periods of time with each parent and found that children in joint custody arrangements report slightly fewer mental and physical wellness issues, children who spend time with only one parent had the worst health and happiness. That's what this report is saying. And Noelle was saying that children are always better off with the mother unless she's abusive or alcoholic or something like that, yeah?
Hi, Adrian. Yes, absolutely. I think any child is better off with the mother. I mean, a mother knows a child in a completely different way to a father. I would have no issue with, you know, maybe meeting up for an hour, supervised access.
No. Here, if a guy is a fit father, he's a fit father, end of story, and there should be no need for supervised visits and all that. And I'm speaking as somebody who was that separated father for many, many years.
Not at all, Adrian. I think that, you know, men move on very quickly from marriages, have no, you know, sense of responsibility by way of children being introduced to new partners, even down to dietary requirements. You know, you go to McDonald's on Saturday and Sunday, you'll just see so many fathers sitting with children, and it's clear, you know, he has them for a couple of hours. Where does he bring them? McDonald's. Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. The likes of Derek there pretending that everything is rosy. I doubt it very much. And, you know, his sense of accomplishment that he happens to see his children. You know, he seems to think he's achieved.
But sure, if you had your way, he wouldn't see his children for an hour a week, which is just ridiculous. And on behalf of any father, any separated father, I find that disgusting. I was that person myself.
Well, Adrian, you know, if the cap fits, wear it. Clearly, if you struggled to get access to your children...
I didn't struggle.
you
No, I
were
didn't. No, I
inadequate.
absolutely didn't struggle. There was no issues there.
But you can never say that you provided the same parenting skills to your children as your ex-wife, Adrian, because that's not possible.
Derek, a man can't provide the same parenting skills to a child as a woman
Adrian,
can.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do here, right? Me being a McDonald's daddy, right? I better go back to work and earn some money financially now. It's not McDonald's I work in. I earn 3 times what someone earns at McDonald's, right? But what that woman is saying, the only time she can ring up this show and complain about this, when she's in the situation. She hasn't a clue what she's talking about. Super Mother of the Year. But when she does,
rattle out of the pram, Derek.
If she does ever get separated, and please God she does, and then she'll get a right kick up the hole, and now she realises reality has hit. An hour a day supervised visit. Will you give it over?
An hour,
I can't talk to them from what I have to go, okay?
An hour at the weekend is what I said, not an hour a day. Children
No, the
are not
weekend.
ping pong balls. You know,
So you
how
mean to
dare
tell me
you
your
use
kids,
your children in that way?
your kids will miss your father. You have him for an hour at the weekend. There you go. Say goodbye to daddy, and you'll see him next week every now. You don't think that's disturbing?
Are you proud of treating your children like ornaments to be lifted and pushed and pulled around to suit you?
They're not
And
lifted,
you're
they're not
speaking
pushed,
like
they're
a
not pulled.
caveman, as if, you know, because you work, that you're a fantastic father and you're going off to earn money.
Can I ask you, does your husband interact with your kids every day?
Of course.
And you let him do that, do you?
Of course.
And do you rule the rules? You tell him where to go, where to bring
If
him?
he decided to walk out that door, I'm assuming he's choosing a different lifestyle. He's choosing to put himself before his children, therefore he's not seeing them, and that's
See,
it.
you have to understand the circumstances of a relationship before you can fucking
circumstances, Derek,
brand
the
anyone being a
circumstances.
McDonald's daddy.
The circumstances,
Now, I don't be a
Derek,
McDonald's
are-
daddy. I cook for my kids. I do
When
everything for my
you-
kids. And a McDonald's is a treat. Like, you bring your kids to McDonald's, do you?
Now, Derek, when you stop beating your fists on your chest, like
So
a
you bring your
caveman
kids to
there,
McDonald's.
okay?
What is that? You a McDonald's
when
mammy?
You
Come
decided,
here, I'm hanging up the
Excuse
phone.
me,
I can't even
Derek,
talk
when
to
you
you.
decided to walk away, you walked away from your children.
No,
You're
hang on, Noel. You know nothing about the man's circumstances, and I am not going to let you decide why his relationship ended. It is none of your business. Absolutely none of your business.
When it ended, Adrian, he walked away from his children. When it ended.
Bullshit.
Of course he did.
Thanks, Aidan. I'm going to hang up now.
Yeah,
okay? Thanks for taking my call.
I don't blame you, Derek. Fair
I can't
play.
talk to that one.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Billy, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Billy?
I'm annoyed a little bit
Go on.
because I think that she's... Right, let me breathe first.
Okay, well, before we speak to her again,
Yeah.
she would not be alone in that a huge percentage of women believe that their children, after a separation, whether it be bitterness or their own self-belief that a mother is a better parent than a father, and that children are much better off living with their mother, she's not alone in saying what she's saying. Maybe not in the way she's saying it. She's not. And we'd be naive to think she is, because
Right.
she's not.
No, but see, this is the problem, I think, sometimes.
Oh, sorry,
saying-
Billy, I'm losing you there. Go on, say that again.
She's saying that moms do the same things dads do. There's moms out there that are just as bad as she's saying as dads. Do you know what I mean?
She's basically saying that a child is ultimately better off
No,
with.
I don't agree, because sometimes if my husband and myself got split up and I had the kids all the time, I'd go crazy. So that wouldn't be beneficial to my kids at all. Do you know what I mean? And I think she's being nasty regarding the other man. Like, I'm sure he's not going to get on, and maybe he did, but it's none of our business if he lied or not. And I take my kids to McDonald's every now and then. So what's the...
No, there's no harm in taking children
understand.
to McDonald's or anywhere every now and again. But I do understand the expression. I've heard the expression before, and it's a very insulting expression to separated dads. McDonald's dad, who has the kids for a couple of hours on a Saturday or whatever. It is very offensive to those guys. Anita, you're on 98 FM. Hi, Anita.
Hi, I was just...
Anita, you believe that it should be down to a child to choose?
Yeah, it depends on their age. Like, if if you come out of a marriage or a separation and the children are 12, 14, or, you know, it should be between the children as well. Like, they should have a choice if they want to go to see their father. No, they should. Every child should see their father. But if they're made go and they don't want to and they're happy in their home where their life was before.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
I don't want to go into the specific details of your circumstances, but, but you're in this situation, is that right?
Yeah, I'm in this situation where my children are older and they were happy at home and they were doing, you know, the mommy and daddy. I used to go out with them and keep it with the children, go to the park and stuff like that. So they never really were affected by the breakup.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he had a girlfriend, we were okay. And I always kept it for the kids. But the girlfriend had a baby and it changed. Now he wants that the kids go up to the house, and I gave them a choice. And I said, listen, I'm okay if you want to go up and see the baby, because I'm getting a break as well. Do you know what I mean? And he does pay. He is a good dad. But the children are confused and they don't want to go to another home.
So they would prefer to stay with you?
They want to stay with me, but they want to stay with him too.
Yes.
But they don't want to go to another home. They're confused. I've tried sitting them down saying, look, it's okay to have two homes. And now I get you're brainwashing them. I'm not brainwashing them.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
Again, I don't want to get into the
I know,
the
but it's about the kids' choice as well. So I think there should be boundaries and rules after a breakup, and both parents should sit down.
What this report is saying is that children who have a 50-50 split between both parents are much better off in the long run.
Yeah, they should see they should see both parents, and parents shouldn't badmouth their children.
Yeah, but I absolutely agree with you on that.
Yeah, they shouldn't. They shouldn't
it should be
say
against the law.
Yeah, it's horrible. You should never ever brainwash your child and say, "Oh, your mother's stupid" or "Your father left the home." Yeah, the fathers do leave, but they don't leave their children. You know, unfortunately, it doesn't work out. But I think the age of children, they should make a choice whether they want, you know, when they get to a certain age, some children don't want to be with their parents, they want to be with their friends.
Absolutely, I know. Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, so it depends on the age. It's okay when the children are younger and they get used to it and they adapt in the family life of having two houses. And mommy and daddy are still their parents. Both parents love their children, but it's the age of the children as well. So
you're saying that the children should be able to choose which parent they live with. You mightn't feel that way though if your children were to choose not to choose you, if you know what I mean.
I wouldn't mind, because I know that they'd be safe as well. He loves them just as much as I do. Like, both parents love their children. Some parents use children as a pawn.
Okay, but does letting children choose not give them too much power, basically?
Yeah, I suppose, yeah. But at the end of the day, it's about the children. It's about the happiness of the children. Schools, education, health. It's all about the children. Both parents should be in children's lives. Parents.
All right, stay there for 1 second. Dave, you're on Dublin's 98 FM. How are you, Dave?
Hi, Adrian. How are you?
Dave, you've never rang a radio show before?
No.
What has made you ring a radio show this time?
My blood was boiling when I was listening to your one. She's married and she has kids, and she's turning around and saying that people who are separated, the dads have no right to see their kids. They should have an hour supervised visitation a week. It actually sickened me, I think.
No, it sickened me as well. As somebody who was that separated father, my kids are grown up now, but for many years I was that separated father. I found what she said to be quite disgusting.
Well, the thing that got to me was, her thoughts are that poisonous, and that's the only way I can describe it. It's a poisonous mind to think like that, and to have that kind of poisonous thoughts around her own kids. God help her husband. If something were to happen in that relationship, the fact that she equates, their relationship between them with what happens with their kids. There's something deeply wrong with that. Your relationship with your kids, yes, your kids are born with a partner, but your relationship between you and your partner, whether you're married, separated, whatever, is completely separate to your relationship with your kids and completely separate to your partner.
And Noel, I have to say, I totally agree with what he is saying, that just because a relationship ends and maybe daddy moves out or whatever, it doesn't mean he's walking out on his kids as well. Relationships end. End
but
of.
Adrian, I wouldn't expect anything different from a man like you. You were in that situation. You walked away from your children. Naturally, you're going to agree with that gentleman's point of view.
No, I would argue with you. Hang on. Sorry, Dave. Sorry, my relationship with my ex-wife is relevant to my relationship with my children, and to this day I have an amazing relationship with my children. I shouldn't even have to be justifying that. I don't have a particularly amazing relationship with my ex-wife, but it's that relationship that ended, not my relationship with my children.
But ultimately, because you weren't man enough to stay around and fix your marriage, your children suffered. So naturally you're going to take that point of view, Adrian.
Relationships end, Noel.
They end when people like you walk away, Adrian.
Noel, I'm not going to discuss the ins and outs of what happened with my marriage, and it's none of your business.
But Adrian, men walk away too easy. This is what happens, and you have to accept the consequences, that when you walk away, you are in fact walking away from your children.
No, I didn't walk away from my children. I've just said.
She accepted the consequences that she's not a fit parent if that's the way she looks at her kids.
Your statements, Noel, are deeply offensive to anybody who's ever been in this situation, including me. And like I said, my marriage may have ended, but my relationship with my children never ended, and to this day I have an amazing relationship with both of them. So you're totally off base here.
Of course you have an amazing relationship, because you got the easy job, Adrian, of popping in and out of their lives.
I never popped in and out of their lives.
Adrian,
go on, Dave, go on.
So just a quick one. I have 3 kids. I have a stepdaughter. I have my son from a previous relationship, and I have a daughter now with my wife. Mm-hmm. Now, myself and my wife, we both have one kid each before we got together.
Right.
Now, myself and my son, we obviously we've been together from the start. Myself and my son's mother, we separated. Now, we were never married. We come to an agreement that we have joint custody. It hasn't just been the rough, there's been the smooth, but in general we get on. The reason we get on is because we both understand that we both have our child's best interest at heart. I look at, I mightn't agree with everything she does, and she mightn't agree with everything I do, but at the end of the day, we both know that we both have our son's best interest at heart, and everything we do is with his best interest at heart. I've had joint custody with my son from the moment we split up, so you can't say I've popped in and out of his life. When he's been with me 100%. I look after him. When he's with his mum, if it happens to be at the weekend when his football matches are on, I'll still pop down and see his football match. He's not necessarily with me, but I'll come down and support him because he's my son. He's my son full time, whether he's in my care or not, or whether he's with his mother or not. The same as when she has her kids, if she's out shopping, they're still her husband's kids. If her husband brings them out to the park, she's still their mother. She needs to realise that, and to turn around and be so offensive. And not only that, but the thing is, the stuff that she's saying, if her kids ever heard that, she's basically turning around and telling her kids that her husband isn't a fit parent.
But you see, Noel, you genuinely believe that when it comes to parenting, women are better than men?
Without a shadow of a doubt. And if I could just answer that gentleman there, in regards to my children. My husband had an affair years ago. I did not hide that from my children. I told my children that their daddy did not think enough of them or me to behave in an appropriate manner. And that if daddy left, it was his fault and they wouldn't be seeing him, and that was it.
Has she ever thought about protecting her kids?
Again,
has she ever thought about
protecting your children? Yes.
Thing, right? Can I just ask you, right? She turned around there and she said that her husband had an affair. So instead of her actually protecting her kids, she put her hurt first and put herself first ahead of her kids. So her statement there has basically just proven to me that she is not a better parent. Yeah, he might be a horrible man going off and having an affair, and I don't agree with that at all. I think that's disgusting. But by turning around and saying hurtful things to your kids to make yourself feel better and to make yourself out to be the better parent, that's not actually good parenting. being
hurtful
spiteful
and truthful
disgusting,
are two
and using
different
your children as a weapon.
Dave, what disturbs me most about this conversation is that people are making this woman out to be the only one who is like this. She's by no means the only woman who is like that. Because the amount of women that believe that their children are better off when they are with just the mother is unbelievable. And I'm sure you know that yourself, Dave.
Well,
and
I do.
and in fact...
We actually have a kids' entertainment business. Okay, and we see the amount of parents that come down. You see so many parents together, but so many parents separated. But thankfully, for the most part, what you end up is you end up getting the parents, whether they're separated now, coming down to celebrate the kids' birthdays together and working together. And most people, most parents have the cop on to put their differences aside when it comes to their kids. You put your kids first, and that's it.
Sadly, it's not all parents. That's the really sad part.
There are a few exceptions. Don't get me wrong. I've seen both sides, but in general, most parents will have the cop on.
All right,
and the problem is it's that kind of attitude that will actually try and push fathers away.
I agree.
Which I think is disgusting.
Yep, I agree with you. Let me go to Sudi. You're on 98 FM. How are you?
Hi, Edwin. How are you?
Good, thank you. Very quickly, Sudi, what did you want to say?
What I want to say is, first I want to tell the first lady over there, yeah?
Yes.
To stop debating on her opinion, the way she sees things are. Because, Edwin, I was in the very same scenario whereby my ex-woman used to tell my kids, your father this and this and this and this. And kids have grown up now. They are around 17. The kids are the ones who are after me. The kids are the ones who are telling me that my mom used to tell me this and this and this and this. And this is common in mothers. This is the very same thing we can agree with, that women tend to poison their kids when the dads are not around.
I agree that an awful lot of children have their relationship with their other parent poisoned by I just find it's something we spoke about last year in this programme about whether or not it should be against the law to poison your children's mind against the other parent. Finally on this, Karen, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Karen?
Hello, how are you?
Good, thanks, Karen. What did you want to say?
What did I want to say? I wanted to say that I think that woman is absolutely crazy, totally selfish. Obviously, she had a very bad relationship and she's very vindictive. So, men are just as capable of looking after children as women. That's all they are.
Now, obviously, there are individual cases where they may not be, but yes,
I know that.
But in general, you believe that.
But in general, men are just as capable of looking after.
And can I ask you, do you believe in the idea of a 50-50 split of 2.5 days with Mammy and 2.5 days with Daddy?
Yes, of course I do.
Is it practical?
Well, yeah. Nowadays there's crashes for everything.
What I mean by that is it practical? What I mean by that is it practical for a child to live 3.5 days in one house and 3.5 days in another house?
Yes, I would say so, yeah. Like, if the child has a great relationship with both parents, and both parents live close, so it is the schools and other amenities, why not?
Why not? All right, fair enough. Thank you very much indeed, Karen. This report claims that children in a 50-50 split with their parents are much better off in the long run. You're listening to 98 FM's Dublin Talks.
The show getting Dublin talking.
98 FM's Dublin Talks.